Hey, welcome back to Boss Labs. So, over the last couple years, I've slowly been buying more Canon RF lenses. For the longest time, I only had the RF 35mm 1.8, and I love shooting with it on my Canon R5. Last year, I picked up a C400 and a C80 to replace my Canon C300 Mark II and my R5 for video. Over the years, I've added the 50mm 1.2, the 15 to 35 2.8, the 135 1.8, and the 35mm 1.4 to my kit. Ever since I started using cameras like the C300 Mark II and even my 1DX Mark II with reliable autofocus, I found myself using autofocus lenses for a majority of my work. Unless I'm shooting something that is more narrative based or I need full control, my autofocus lenses have been the backbone of my work. Over the last few months, one custom function has gotten a lot of use on both cameras, and that feature is called tracking in the menus. The best way I can describe this feature is having a virtual touch to focus on the camera that doesn't require you to move your hands from your shooting position. This feature works nicely when I'm hand holding my cameras or when I'm on a shoulder rig. A quick note though, if my C80 is on a gimbal, I'll just use the focus feature, the touch to focus, as the tracking feature becomes cumbersome. The beauty of this feature is that it gives me flexibility in how I want to communicate with my camera at any given moment. For example, my C80, I have tracking set to custom button number 8. Whether I'm cradling my lens with one hand and I have the other on the side grip, or if I have my left hand on my tilted wooden grip, this feature shines. With 2 buttons, I select where I want to focus and I set the camera to start tracking. If I was relying on touch to focus, I'd let go of my wooden grip and tap to focus. While not impossible, it definitely feels like more work to brace my right hand for the unbalanced moment. The button option allows me to use the thumbstick to pick my focus, and if I don't need to hold my frame, it is much quicker and accurate for me just to move the shot and reframe after selecting what I want to track. In this clip here, I currently have autofocus with no subject detect on. If I want to use the tracking feature, I press 8, I aim the crosshair at what I want to focus on, and I click in the thumbstick. If I want to select another subject, I just press 8 again and repeat. If I want to stop using the feature, I can double press 8 to enable and disable the feature. I find that is much quicker than reaching down to press cancel. I use this feature the exact same way on my C400 with the mapping being on custom button 2. This leads me to the button right next to tracking. On the C80 that's 7 and on the C400 that's 1. Here I have AF lock while pressed. At times I find myself that I momentarily want to disable autofocus and quickly resume. This feature stays active while I continue to press the button, and as soon as I let go, it resumes autofocus. If I want to disable autofocus without holding a button or reaching down to my lens, I have that set to custom button 12 on the C80 and 13 on the C400. Now, to move through my different autofocus modes, I've replaced buttons 3 and 6 on the C80 and 2 and 6 on the C400. The first selects the shooting mode I'm in. In the menu, this is called Subject to Detect. This lets me cycle through no subject, people, or animals. The second button lets me toggle between Detect Priority or Detect Only on people and animals. It'll do nothing if there's no subject selected. I've noticed that even when detect is set to priority and I track an object, sometimes the camera doesn't stick to it as well as if I just had no subject detection on. So I prefer to have no subject detection unless I'm actively wanting to find and track people or animals. Lastly, I have AF frame. I have it set to custom button 2 on the C80 and 10 on the C400. This lets me choose from whole area autofocus, which is usually what I'm on, or toggle through the others. Those being small zone, zone, large zone vertical, or large zone horizontal. Having access to these can be a game changer when you need to rely on autofocus and you have a particular zone you want to tell your camera to focus on. Like tracking, these autofocus areas can be moved via the thumbstick or touch feature, and they can be reset by clicking in the thumbstick. I found that run and gun shooting with autofocus class becomes exponentially easier when I have access to all these features, and they're not stuck behind a menu somewhere. These custom buttons easily allow me to override and quickly gain manual control in a pinch if need be. To be honest, the only time I'm manually focusing with these are in extreme low light or when an object is tiny and the cameras might have some trouble. I hope this video was helpful to any of my fellow autofocus shooters who are not currently only shooting on manual lenses or some sexy cinema glass. And I'll see you guys next time.